Okay, so I hope you watched Days of Heaven. In terms of cinematography, it's some of the best examples of cinematography in any film that's ever been created. And Days of Heaven took a particularly long time to film, and it was all shot within the golden hour. And the golden hour is the last hour of light at the end of the day. So this is when the sun is at its lowest in the sky, or the sun has dipped behind, so we don't see the sun, but we can still see the light from the sun. In terms of the golden hour, what this will do is it'll soften the scene, it'll give us a larger dynamic range, it'll create longer shadows, but also it'll give us a golden look and a golden effect, which we might relate to summers or early autumn nights. And in terms of how we feel, in terms of atmosphere, we can place our own sentiments within the film. So in this, I hope you made notes on the theme, the type of genre, the camera shots and camera positions, also the camera work, so how all this was used together in a technical capacity to work in terms of the creativity of the filmmaker. So this brings on to how do we read light. So everything we see and the way the camera sees is through use of light. Everything is scribed and written within light. So through light we see detail, and the way light falls on a specific subject will give modelling and give detail to that subject. So a light at this angle, as you see me now, is just a side light, so this will give me a little bit more definition in the face in terms of some shadow on the nose, some shadow in the background, and this is all our modelling. So in terms of the definition between shadow and areas that aren't in shadow, it will add depth. Okay, so this means if we put the light in front of me and it's very flat light without any shadow at all, it will be a flat light and it will give less definition to the shot. Again, this shot is done for purpose of saving time, so it's not a very well lit shot in terms of the amount of glare and reflection, but in the time you have, hopefully you'll be able to set up more dynamic shots and really think about your shots in terms of the modelling and the design in those. So in terms of understanding light and understanding depth within filmmaking, we need to really understand shadows, but more to the point, the difference between the highlights and the shadows, so the lightest parts of the shot to the darkest parts of the shot and everything in between. Okay, so we might discuss the amount of light or colour, but there are also types of light and ways of lighting that do a number of things. And our three main concerns, especially for our own shoot, are firstly, is there sufficient light to shoot? Is there enough light that we can see the action that's taking place within each shot, within each scene? We need enough light to understand the scene in terms of being able to view it. That's the absolute basic. If you were walking around in the middle of the night and you didn't know where to go because it was dark, it's exactly the same thing. We can't create action in the dark. Secondly, is the lighting accurate? So for the scene, is there enough light in terms of how the scene should look? So if it's in the middle of the night, do we expect to see daylight? It's just going to be wrong. So think about how the lighting should be for that scene. How accurate would it be? So if we're filming early in the morning or early in the evening or in the middle of the day, there's going to be different amounts and varying amounts of light, or different amounts of light for an indoor and an outdoor scene. Okay, and then also, this light allows us to use the language of film. So through these, through these two basics, we can start to think about our genre, and we think about the genre conventions and the use of light and the way we might tell a story or develop themes, develop ideas of the characters through the use of light, how different characters are lit, or the difference between light and dark. So the difference between the shadows and the highlights. These things will all tell us a story, and these things are A, part of filmmaking tradition, and B, part of the genre definitions of certain films. And in a moment I'm going to show you a clip from The Third Man, which is a noir film, and in this clip we see a shot of Orson Welles as Harry Lime step out the doorway. But what I want you to do is think about how the lights are positioned within this clip, think about any effects that are used, think about the angle and the style of a camera. Make notes on the shot about where you think the lights are positioned and how bright the lights are. And also, what type of light is it? Is it a diffuse light, that comes from a number of different directions, or is it hard light that comes from a single direction? What's the filmmaker trying to tell through use of these lights and camera position? Think about the use of light and dark. What type of film do we think it is? And how does light, construct the narrative of this film? Make notes to think about if it was more or less light, how would it change this narrative? And how does it define the film?